Hey, Gator fans. So, yesterday was really one of those days that tests our in all kinds of weather motto. Many of you sat with me in the stands as we kicked off under honestly some of the muggiest and hottest weather conditions that I can remember, only to sit through a 30-minute lightning delay and then to sit in a torrential downpour for 45 minutes to watch the Gators lose 33-20 to Texas A&M's backup quarterback and first-year head coach Mike Elko. Despite the conditions and the product on the field, the swamp was rocking. Gator fans showed up loud and proud and did their part. The Gator football team once again looked unprepared. The sideline lacked fire. The offensive and defensive lines looked overmatched. We watched Texas A&M march 99 yards on the Gators with their backup quarterback. That wasn't even the worst part, though. With 3 minutes and 41 seconds to go, down 13, the Gators were actually somehow in this game still. And at the time, Graham Mertz was 12 for 15 and had just scored a touchdown in the third quarter. But Napier trotted out DJ Lagway, who was 5 for 11. Napier brought him back out not because he had the hot hand or because, he had some specific package that he had drawn up for him that he was certain was going to work for that moment. He went with Lagway because it was, quote, his turn. He was asked about it in the postgame press conference and he said, quote, "We ultimately made a commitment to rotate the players, a certain progression, a certain way, regardless of outcome." Regardless of outcome. That last line really stuck with me since Napier said it in the press conference. I was listening in the car on the way home, and I just can't get that line out of my head, regardless of outcome. This is kind of a microcosm of the Napier era, isn't it? He sticks with his plan regardless of outcome. It felt very much like Napier thinks both Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway are good quarterbacks, which they are. So he wanted to reward them both with playing time. It kind of feels like the soccer trophy my 4-year-olds get at the end of the season. Listen, you're going to get one no matter how good you are, or if you sit on the bench and cry, or if you go in and actually play. This is not how you build a winning program. I know last week, Will Miles had said that he was against playing both quarterbacks in a rotation this way. And he said because he thinks it shows a coach who is unwilling to make the hard decisions. And I think that's true. But I think even more so, Coach Napier is a coach that wants to reward hard work. And I appreciate that, absolutely. But it almost feels like he's willing to reward hard work at the detriment of just playing the right guy for the moment. It's time for a change at the University of Florida. I take no joy and no pleasure in calling for somebody's job. Honest to God, I actually hate this. This is the worst part about doing something like this and being the wife and the daughter and the sister of 3 different people who went through a coaching change during their time at the University of Florida. I know that this is about to be really hard for those people inside the locker room. And I believe that Billy Napier is a good man. And I believe that he's done some good things at the University of Florida. None of those things involve making Florida a better football team, though. I do not believe he has what it takes to build a winning program in the best conference in America. I don't believe he has what it takes to be an offensive coordinator in the best conference in America. You listen to his press conference week after week, and he consistently talks about the work is being put in and how good everyone is practicing. And for some reason, it's just not translating. Honestly, I would have rather had a coach sit there and tell me almost anything else. Practice was terrible. We don't have the pieces we thought we did. Anything than what we're getting. I do not doubt that the players think that they are giving their all and that they are doing what is asked of them. I 100% believe that. I don't put this on the players at all. I just don't believe that they are actually being pushed to their limits. We've done interviews on this channel with former players that have talked about the coaching transitions, and they've said, we thought we were working hard until so-and-so came in and became our head coach and showed us that we had so much more to give. I think that is where we are right now. I do not believe our players are being pushed hard enough. I don't believe they're being pushed to their limits. I don't believe that perfection is being demanded. And then I think that's what's translating on the field. Just watching warm-ups will tell you that. I was watching the defensive line warm-ups of A&M and then Florida's. They were happening right in the end zone, right in front of where I sit. And it was night and day. A&M, full out every single time. Their players are going full out in these warm-ups. Florida wasn't. It looked like they were just going through the motions. But both warm-ups were being led by coaches. I did not see one single Florida coach try to up that intensity. So while I thought that they were just kind of going through the motions, nobody was telling them they should have been doing it any differently. It's time for the University of Florida to try something else, right? I don't know how you win back this fan base. I don't think this is something you fix mid-season. This is an overall systemic issue. And, again, I feel horrible sitting here and saying this because I do believe Coach Napier is a really good person with good intentions. I believe he has a plan that he thinks he can win. And, I watched him last night. My end zone where I sit is right close to the band. And I watched him walk over and put his arm around his players and sing the alma mater. And I watched him look around, and it very much felt like he was taking it all in. Probably because he knows that this may be the very last time that he gets to sing it. And you can see his players respond to him. They respect him. They care about him. He obviously cares about them. And the human side of me, that is hard to watch. And then I think further down the line, the uncertainty for his staff and their families. Coach Napier is going to have $26 million. So while he's going to be out of a job, he is going to be fine, right? But some of this staff who will not be retained when the next guy comes around, I worry about them. I feel for them and their families. But the University of Florida has winning tradition and standards, and it's time we get back to that. When Dan Mullen was fired, I maintained that firing a coach who had taken you to 3 New Year's Six Bowls, regardless of what was perceived to be going on in the program at the moment, was punting on third down. It's risky, but if you have the perfect plan in place, it could work. It could be worth it. But Billy Napier has been objectively worse than Dan Mullen. Now, that's not me saying we need Dan Mullen back or we should have retained him, but that was a risky move at the time, and the payoff hasn't been there. Had we gone a different direction at coach, I think we maybe could have seen that payoff, but we didn't. It's been reported that the UF's Board of Trustees is currently meeting at this moment to discuss Napier's future. Seems to me it's a meeting that could probably have been an email. But where UF goes from here has never been more important. First and foremost is going to be the decision of who is the interim head coach. Word on the street prior to this loss happening was that it's going to be Dan Enos. He's the only person currently on staff with head coaching experience. He hasn't been here very long, though, so that's another risky move. But then what? I think that we are going to have to really work incredibly hard to retain these players and keep them interested for the rest of the season. They're about to be in a really hard position. I remember the moment that my husband found out that Ron Zook was being let go. They got text messages to come to the football facility for a meeting. As the ticker on ESPN is scrolling down saying Ron Zook out at the University of Florida. It wasn't good. And even those players who wanted to win more were still upset that they were losing their head coach. And that's about to happen in our locker room, I'm pretty sure. And these players love Coach Napier. They love this staff and they love each other. So it's about to be a hard moment. And I definitely think as fans, that's something we've got to take into account when we react on social media or celebrate or things like that. Two things can be true. A really hard decision that upsets some of the most important people in the program, the players, can also be the right decision. And I think that's the moment that we're in right now. So who do you hire? Obviously we've got plenty of time to talk about that. But I think it's important to say right now, UF is not an on-the-job training program. The next hire needs to be a coach with major Power 5 experience who not only knows what it takes to win at that level, but has won at this level. And while we're at it, does Scott Strickland really get to make the hire? Strickland has made 10 hires at UF as the athletic director. 4 are no longer at Florida. 2 of those were involved in major scandals. 1 was fired, Dan Mullen, and 1 left for another job before being fired. 4 are a second hire by Strickland in their sport. The other 2 are Todd Golden and Anthony Nesty. And honestly, Strickland does not get credit for Anthony Nesty. He was on Greg Troy's staff, and Greg Troy was the former swimming coach. For those of you that don't follow swimming, Anthony Nesty is currently UF's head coach, swimming head coach. But Nesty was on Greg Troy's staff since the 1990s and has been the heir apparent for years. So currently, out of 10 hires that Strickland has made since becoming athletic director at the University of Florida, Todd Golden is the only one that Strickland gets credit for that is working. So why in the world would he get another shot at a football hire? All right, Gator fans, stick with us as we follow the developments of the next couple of days. I think that we're going to hear things relatively soon. We've got lots more content coming your way this week. Feels pretty important to say at this moment, we're Gators always in all kinds of weather. Go Gators.